Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, welcome Industrial Talk listeners. My name is Scott McKenzie, but you know that my name is Scott McKenzie, and we once again are broadcasting from IoT Solutions World Congress here in Barcelona, Spain. The next interview lives about 10 minutes away, so he doesn't have much of a commute. And it's brought to you by those wonderful people at Industrial Internet Consortium. Go to iiconsortium.org. Find out more. And you're saying to yourself, Scott, why do I need to? Because IoT is going to transform your life. It solves problems you need to know as much as you possibly can about that solution, as well as blockchain, as well as security, as well as everything else. So go to iiconsortium.org. Find out more. You will not be disappointed. They're great people, too. Just like the interview I'm going to have. In my short time of getting to know Albert Zaragoza, he's the Chief Technology Officer with Connected Operational Intelligence. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm worn out by that intro. How are you doing there? Are you having a good conference there, Albert?
I'm great. Yes. It is a great conference. I haven't been able to see much because I've been in interviews the whole day, but
boo-hoo. I'm sitting here in the salt mine. Give me a break. I haven't seen anything. So, no, it is fantastic.
It is.
Is this your first time here?
No. We live 10 minutes from here.
Oh, that's right. You probably have been here for
it's like our third, fourth year, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, you have a great town.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yes.
So, I've had a number of conversations with autonomous vehicles, and I said it'll be virtually impossible here in Barcelona.
I can imagine.
There's a sense of aggression that happens here, but it's lively. I love it, man. I love it. Okay, so for the listeners out there, let's talk a little bit about you, your background, where you come from, sort of lay that foundation, and then we're going to go into why you're so spectacular.
Yeah. So basically, I'm a computer scientist, and I also studied electronics. No? Basically, that makes a good combination to work on the IoT space. No? And
just FYI, I always feel like I am, after these interviews, which I've interviewed a ton of people, I am definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed. I am humbled by the capabilities of people here. There you go. That's a shout out to your capabilities.
Great. So basically, I started as a developer, as an engineer, and I continue growing my career, helping startups in the IoT space. Growing engineering teams and deploying technology across the board. So, yeah.
Now, how long you been with? I'm struggling here with World Sensing and then Connected Operational Intelligence.
So our name is World Sensing.
Okay, good.
Connected Operational Intelligence is what we do. Ah,
very good. Okay, Take note of that, listeners. That's not the company. The company's name is World Sensing, and that's WORLDSENSING.com. That's their domain.
That's right.
Make a note. He's fantastic.
That's right.
And I'm going to butcher your name. You're sitting here, but you're not on the podcast, but I'm going to have to give you a shout out. And it's don't even computer scientist guy.
I won't help.
I got Garcia. It's Miss Garcia. First name is Mart.
That's the easy one. Maite.
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 So cool. Miss Garcia. She's sitting over to the side there, but does not have a mic on, but she's great. All right.
She's great.
So let's talk a little bit about, first off, just in general, World Sensing, what is it? What do you do? And then let's start diving into a little bit of the solutions, because we're all about solving problems here.
Yep.
Let's talk about problem solving.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're an IoT company operating in the space since 2008.
No, you've been around for a little while.
Yeah, I believe in 2008, IoT was not even a thing.
Because the group of people who decided that they need to call it IoT did not have that beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet.
Yeah, exactly. So
IoT.
We were there doing our sensors before that happened.
And it was more of an accurate description of saying that we have some sensors that are devices that sit out on Internet of Things.
Yeah, and now we had to say we are an IoT company.
You're an IoT company.
Now we are an IoT company.
That's right.
Before we were helping customers through deploying sensors, right? So.
Very good.
So, yeah. So we did that, and then basically over the years we had many different sensors in our portfolio. So we did a parking sensor, smart parking sensor, not the one you see indoors, but one that goes actually on the streets. We build a traffic sensor as well, and we build Geo-Technical sensors. Okay, so which are right now and data loggers, which are right now our core offering.
The sensors for traffic lights, right? Did you say that?
Traffic, not...
No. You said something and I missed it. I got...
Not traffic lights. So there's parking, there's traffic.
Yeah, traffic. There you go.
Geo-Technical.
And Geo-Technical. Got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So basically, what we've done with the parking and traffic, we learned a lot about how IoT and this type of sensors operate. Then what we discovered is a niche in the market, no? With our load sensing product is this Geo-Technical data logger actually. So there's sensors into it. I'll explain you more later on. But basically what this is a data logger that actually collects data from all old sensors, basically sensors that have been in the market for 30, 40 years, Geo-Technical sensors.
Right.
That actually help companies understand what's their risk management when they are actually doing work on infrastructures, mines, etc. So what we help them is to take those readings and send them to the cloud. So
because they've been in service for many, many years, do you go back in history to pull that data and then be able to draw a more comprehensive picture of the geotechnical space that they mine in?
Yes, exactly. So what we help customers do is obviously once you have your data digitized, which is the first step, then you are able to monitor. Then you monitor your data. You are understanding what's happening, but you're normally understanding it in real time. So you're seeing the data right now. Then what we build is solutions that are actually storing this data. It's a time series data that you are storing, and then you start to be able to tell them, look, there's patterns here. So there are things that probably your operators are not seeing that we are able to help with. No? We are helping you to raise alerts. We are helping you to respond faster to events. We can help you to put response plans, which at the end of the day, they are operational procedures that every company, city, or infrastructure company has. So basically what we are doing is to give them a set of tools that allow them to bring the data from the edge, from the soil, because actually this is the real soil.
It is the true definition of edge.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't get any more edgier than that.
Exactly, we are the edge of the edge. No? So we are
You
inside.
are edged out.
Exactly, and then bring that data so they can analyze it, so their geotechnical experts can analyze the
See,
data.
what's interesting is that's a real case scenario, right? That you're doing something that is truly tangible.
Yeah.
Do you by chance have any sort of, from the mining perspective, by the way, I understand Barcelona is like one of the top smart cities within the world, which is pretty cool. We can talk about that in just a jiffy. But are you seeing through that technology, through that ability to be able to understand the geotechnical condition through the data, do you find greater yields? Do you operationally say, hey, we got this information, you need to go this way or do that? Sort of like tactically.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, what we do is we provide the technology for them to bring the data from the soil, from the edge to the cloud, so they can analyze it better. We are actually not in the business of helping them understand the data. So what we are giving them is all the tools they need, so they don't have to have, because probably most of these companies, they don't have software engineers, they don't have people that are experts in LoRa, the technology, they don't know how to build their sensors. So what they need
but they
is actually...
know their geotechnical data.
Exactly.
They know that real well.
What they want is to have that data faster, better, and like be delivered to their
So
door.
the value is I can see it better. I can be more nimble in how I mine this section because I've got the data.
Exactly.
And that's the value.
And it's actually saving them a lot of money. So it's much more secure than before. Because what they were doing, and even they are still doing, many companies in the industry, in mining infrastructures, they are actually sending someone to do a manual reading of these sensors.
Yeah.
So imagine you can just send as many people, so you have readings every week, every 2 weeks, sometimes not that often. You have they are error prone, no? So basically you have someone manually taking a reading.
Yeah, right. It's just human error. It's
so
like
basically what you have now is either that, you cable the whole infrastructure, which is also really expensive,
it's
to cable
off the charts,
which is, or you send, you install one of our data loggers, so you have N data loggers, depending on the sensors you have. You have one gateway installed, and through LoRa you send your data. And we have a range of up to 15 kilometers. So
no kidding.
So yeah.
So you threw out something that said LoRa?
LoRa, yeah.
LoRa.
Yeah.
And what is that?
You know, LoRa, it's a protocol. It's a communication protocol.
Got it.
Actually, it's an LP1 protocol. So it's a low power.
Got it.
Protocol.
That is your ability to be able to get
data. Helps you to
data.
collect data from the soil.
Yeah.
And send the data with a data logger. It's a little sensor, a little machine that actually can stay there for up to 10 years. So basically, what you have to then basically the cost and the most expensive thing on this deployment sometimes is to send someone actually in the field to install this data logger. No? So you don't want to have to go there every week, every 2 weeks to change the battery, so to send some power there. I mean, it's impossible to send power.
It is.
So what you have is these boxes that live there for up to 10 years, and they are sending the data with the regularity that you want and you need.
Yeah.
So some of our customers, they have a need of, I mean, we are talking always real time, you talk about blockchain, all these technologies, but some use cases don't require so much complexity. It's like, I want my data every hour, I want it to be delivered from the soil to my office.
But here's the funny thing, when you start talking about mine, it's dirt. It doesn't change much.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. It's there.
I mean, if you're not working that site over there,
yeah,
and you're taking data, and you're not working it, it's the same today as well as be tomorrow and the next day until you start working it, and it still might be somewhat the same.
Yeah, agreed. So that's how we are helping them, and obviously now what's happening is worldwide. We are seeing the regulators, like countries and agencies. They are becoming very worried about all the infrastructure park that they have, like bridges, mines, etc. It's becoming old. This infrastructure is getting old. Countries are not.
No, you're
not
saying
investing,
some of the devices that are out in the field are like 30 years old.
Yeah.
They've been hammered. I mean, they're out there in the nature.
So basically what's happening is that the regulators are asking these companies, I want information of how you're running your infrastructure. Are there any risks here? No, there's been recent accidents in Brazil with tailing dams, mining companies that are actually creating natural disasters, and there's huge disasters. So basically, what the regulators are doing is they are pushing for these new technologies, to be able to have reports and to be able to analyze that data in actual real time or as fast as they can. So,
See, that's interesting because I never thought about that. That is a true that's a safety component.
Yeah.
And I mean, because without a doubt, we sit here in this environment and we talk tech and we talk about solving problems, but one of the biggest impact that it can have in honestly meaning is safety, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why it's sort of interesting where I say, man, that's right, because you have a catastrophic event in a mine because you're not managing that data or seeing that data.
Yeah, so you cannot
and it's
respond
not that
to
difficult.
You cannot respond to it, or even in breaches. So you heard about the Genoa bridge in Italy.
Yeah.
It fell down, and that's a critical infrastructure that's actually servicing millions of people a day. So it's huge, It's in those things are out there, and they are not being updated, and they are not being monitored.
So this is all great stuff, right? Mm-hmm. The value proposition is there, and companies need to recognize that is an important component to their operations. That's one. But what are the challenges? Why aren't companies saying, okay, I'm on board, I get it, I need to do it?
It's always like the effort, the investment required to it. I mean, pretty much every company thinks that they have it sorted, that they actually control, because these things are traditional industries and they have been done, as you said, they have the same way of operating.
Hey, later, Miss Garcia.
Bye, Maite. See you later. See you tomorrow. She got bored.
No, she was engaged.
Yeah, completely. So basically, I mean, what's happening is that these companies think they have it all controlled, because they've been building bridges or infrastructures or mines for many, many years, No, they think they don't need to really understand what's going on. No, like to actually have that real-time component. They think that they can still operate in the same old way where they send someone with a manual reading, and that's still going to be fine. But that's not longer the case. No, I mean with all the technology we have, technology is becoming cheaper. I mean, you can deploy these data loggers, these smart sensors faster.
You're getting greater capability.
Yeah.
And the price is going down.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of the perfect storm for adoption right now. I mean, it's like, why not?
There's no excuse right now.
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. And as I said, this protocol LoRa, up until now, what we've seen is that we were going to customers and we said, okay, we had to do the whole end-to-end thing. No? We had to deploy the data loggers, we had to deploy the gateway. So basically, we had to put them an IoT network, no? The whole network for them to communicate. What we are seeing right now, and it's fortunate, is that some of these customers are already thinking about that. And the same way they have an internet network and an intranet that they have for the company, they are thinking about IoT networks as well. No? And they are telling us, look, I have my own LoRa or LoRaWAN network. I want your sensors or your data loggers to come and integrate into that. So we are seeing an evolution in some companies, but those companies are the ones that either their governments are actually asking them this data and this real-time information by law because they have to do it, or because they are actually invested on it. But this is big. No, it's becoming bigger. I think the IoT is going to be a thing. It will be normal to have an IoT network as well as you have your internet or your intranet in an office.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had a number of conversations. Have you been involved in any of the activities here in Barcelona where you're doing a smart city and all that?
Yeah. So, for example, our parking sensors, they've been deployed here on the city to actually understand, and that's another issue. Tourism is a big issue here in Barcelona. Every year we have a lot of tourists. It's huge. So
I'd be one.
Yeah. I know the city is beautiful, so why not?
It is.
But actually, that's creating a stress on the city, on the system, because you have lots of cars, buses, everything coming into certain areas, and for example,
that's a good point, because I mean, we're tourists.
We're
not going to that one place where we don't want to go.
So it's like in one certain, certain area. So
going to Montserrat. Everybody goes to Montserrat.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, we had deployments where they needed to understand, okay, this street, I want to really track that the buses are arriving and 5 minutes after they are leaving. So that's where you actually deploy this type of solutions, where you want to have more granular, regular data points, where you want to really control, okay, this bus arrived now, but is leaving now. And if it doesn't leave, I want to react to it.
Yeah, how do you react to something like that? So case in point, you go to Sagrada Familia, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
It just is. And there's a bunch of buses, there's a bunch of cars, there's a bunch of everything.
Yeah.
How do you control something like that?
Yeah, so basically these sensors, what they do is they track in real time that there's a car or a bus arriving. So once you know that you have this data is transported in real time to your server, and you can monitor that, and you can say the actual car that is there, it hasn't moved in 5 minutes. So, or the bus that is there, it hasn't moved in 5 minutes. So you can actually take an action, raise an alert, and that's the other thing. So once you start aggregating all this data, be like parking data, traffic data, and then you have it centralized, you can respond to it faster. And
that's all of it. You're compressing the time. You're compressing the time for recognition of a problem and action.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't, you know what I mean? So, you're going to have challenges like Sagrada Familia. By the way, so my wife and I went there, and the funniest thing, so you listeners out there, if you ever come to Barcelona, Spain, you got to go Sagrada Familia. But what happens is you got to make sure that you don't just walk in looking up. We walked in looking up with all the other people looking up, and you run into people.
You crash.
Because everybody's just stunned by how it looks up, and so people get stiff necks because it's stunning. But it's funny because I was running into people because I'm just sort of looking up and I'm going, I can't believe this. Anyway, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Hey, are you active out there on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay. I want you listeners. His name is Albert Zaragoza. That's Zaragoza, and he's with World's World Sensing. That's WORLDSENSING. Reach out to him. And Miss Garcia. She's great too. Anyway, you are wonderful. That's fantastic stuff. That's fantastic solutions. That's real solutions in action, solving problems. That's fantastic. And you listeners out there, again, Industrial Talk is brought to you by those wonderful people at Industrial Internet Consortium. That you can find more about them at iiconsortium.org. That's iiconsortium.org. And you want to find out more about IoT, IIoT, AI, security, blockchain, any Industry 4.0, iiconsortium.org is the only place you need to go for that information. Thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast, live from IoT Solutions World Congress in the beautiful town of Barcelona, which is not a town, and it's a beautiful place. Thank you. Thank you very much, Albert, and thank you, listeners out there. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly, and change the world. That's what we're all about. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll be back with other great interviews from this incredible event, so stay tuned.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.